Okay, good morning. We're going to look at factor by grouping. So you can do this when a polynomial has 4 terms, and we do this one like when we expand a quadratic, and you may be able to factor by grouping in this case. So when it's an expanded quadratic or a polynomial has 4 terms. So for the polynomial we're working with today, we have 10m to the third plus 10m squared plus 9m plus 9. So we have to initially look for the GCF. I don't have a GCF. Like my GCF would be 1, and then we have to order it from least to greatest. So what I mean ordering from least to greatest means that you take the leading term, which is the term with the highest exponential value, and we put that first, and then we arrange the terms based on exponential value. So we have 10m to the third, which is the highest, 10m squared, that's the second highest, and then 10m to the first power, or I'm sorry, 9m to the first power, and then a constant of 9. So that's order from least to greatest. Then what we do is we group. So we take the first 2 terms and we put parentheses around there, and then we have the second 2 terms, we put parentheses around that. And then we take out a GCF from each group. So my GCF from the first group is going to be 10m squared. When I factor that out, I'm left with m plus 1. For my second group, my GCF was 9, so when I factor that out, I'm left with 9 times m plus 1. So the new GCFs, like the 10m squared and the 9, are going to make one group. And my second group is going to be whatever is going to be left over. So that's going to be the m plus 1. So I know that we have 2 m plus 1s. We just need to make sure that they match in order to write it down right here. So then at the end, you regroup for the solution. So my solution to this one is going to be 10m squared plus 9 times, we have x to the third minus 4x squared plus 8x minus 32. So the first step is to check for GCF and then arrange from greatest to least. My GCF here is 1, so I don't need to take anything out. And luckily this is already arranged from greatest to least. Okay, next we need to group. So we're going to group the first 2 terms, x to the third minus 4x squared. And then we're going to group the second 2 terms, 8x minus 32. And then from here, I'm going to try and find my GCF. So for the first group, my GCF is x squared. So that leaves me with x minus 4. With my second group, the GCF is 8, and that leaves me with x minus 4. So as long as x minus 4 matches with x minus 4, we take the first 2 terms that are underlined in green. So that's x squared plus 8. That's our first group. And then our second group is going to be x minus 4. So we're regrouping for the solution. And then again, I want to be clear. This is going to be x minus 4 because those match. That's where I get that first group from. And then the second group is going to be from my GCF of what's underlined, okay? 9w to the fourth plus 36w to the third plus 15w squared plus 60w. Okay, so in this one, definitely we have a GCF, and our GCF is going to be found in each term. So that's going to be 3w. So I'm going to rewrite the equation, and then I'm going to factor out my GCF, my first GCF of 3w. So then I write everything else in the equation. So I have 3w times 3w to the third plus 12w squared plus 5w plus 20. And then from there, you're going to group what's inside the parentheses. So you're going to have to use like a hierarchy of parentheses. So it's going to be brackets and then parentheses. So I have 3w bracket parentheses 3w to the third plus 12w squared, that's one set, times 5w plus 20, and that's the second set. So from these soft parentheses, I'm going to try and find my GCF. I understand that I have that 3w on the outside of the bracket. Just leave it there. So every time you rewrite a new line, you're writing a new equation. So don't go all the way back up. You want to just go back to the previous line and hoping that you've done it correctly. So now we have 3w bracket, my GCF is 3w squared from the first set. So I take out 3w squared and I'm left with w plus 4. For the second set, my GCF is 5, so I take out the 5 and I'm left with w plus 4. So then I regroup for the solution. and I can get rid of the brackets here. So this is where it's going to be kind of confusing. So now you have 3w times the first set, which is made up of the GCFs, 3w squared plus 5. And then because these w plus 4 match, that's going to be your second set, w plus 4. And that's going to be your solution. Okay, we're going to factor 18s to the third plus 18s squared minus 17s minus 17. So we look for the GCF and we arrange it greatest to least. This is already ranged greatest to least, and my GCF here is, for right now, is just 1. So then I group. So I group the first two, so 18s to the third plus 18s squared. And then the second group is going to be negative. It's good to watch the negative. Negative 17s minus 17. And then you're going to factor out the GCF. So that's going to be, in the first set, it's 18s squared. So I'm left with s plus 1. In the second set, it's negative 17. So you factor out that negative, and it turns that negative 17 right there into a positive. So my new group for the solution is going to be 18s squared minus 17, and then s plus 1. Again, when you factor out that negative, it changes the sign, right? So here's how it goes. If I have a negative times a negative, I get a positive. I have a negative times a positive, I get a negative. I have a positive times a negative, I get a negative. I have a positive times a positive, I get a positive. So again, that's why that sign of s plus 1 changed. So they're both the same, and that's where I get that from. All right, see you in class.